Most inverters do not fail with a bang. No smoke, no sparks, no obvious moment of death. What actually happens is quieter and harder to catch. Heat slowly degrades the capacitors, stresses the control board, and triggers thermal derating until the unit is producing a fraction of its rated output, sometimes for months before it fully quits. In 2026, the most dangerous inverter on the market is often the one with the most impressive spec sheet and the weakest thermal design behind it. 4 inverters survive that filter. The rest cook themselves. So what does it actually take to pass that filter? 4 criteria, none of them negotiable. First, thermal performance under load. Not peak output on a cool morning. Sustained output at operating temperature. The unit must derate honestly and recover cleanly, not spiral into chronic underperformance, the way budget hardware typically does after its first summer. Second, serviceability. Cooling paths need to be accessible. Fans, where they exist, need to be replaceable without voiding the warranty. Monitoring has to catch problems early, not log them after the damage is done. Firmware must be mature, with a track record of updates that fix issues rather than introduce them. Third, certifications that reflect current grid requirements, not legacy approvals carried forward from a softer compliance era. Fourth, business durability. The manufacturer needs a real support network in the region where the unit is being installed, a warranty turnaround that does not strand a customer for months, and a product roadmap that suggests the parts and firmware will still exist in year 8 or 9 of a 25-year roof commitment. One clarification before the list. Inverters that did not make the cut are not automatically dangerous. They simply failed a stricter audit than most buyers apply. When you are investing tens of thousands into a system, stricter is the only standard that makes sense. Here is what cook themselves actually means at the component level, because this pattern is going to come up repeatedly as the shortlist unfolds. The chain usually starts with an undersized heatsink, often hidden behind a respectable efficiency number on the spec sheet. Conversion losses are unavoidable in any inverter, and that lost energy becomes heat. If the heatsink cannot move it fast enough, internal temperature climbs. A cheap fan slows or fails first, usually within 3 summers. Cramped enclosures trap the heat further. Low-grade electrolytic capacitors, already sensitive to heat, begin degrading ahead of schedule. The inverter starts thermally derating, quietly throttling output, and most owners never notice until production data shows a slow, unexplained decline. The efficiency rating that sold the unit tells you almost nothing about where heat goes after it is created. Installation compounds the damage. A direct sun wall mount, poor airflow around the enclosure, a corroded conduit connection, a grid with frequent voltage surges. Any one of those conditions accelerates what was already a marginal thermal design into an early failure. The 4 inverters on this list are not exceptional because they are immune to physics. They are exceptional because they give heat, electrical faults, and field service a cleaner path out. That distinction is exactly what separates them from the machines that look identical on paper. So the first pick solves the thermal concentration problem at the root level by eliminating the central box entirely. N-phase IQ8 microinverters put one small inverter behind each panel. That means conversion heat is distributed across every module on the roof instead of stacked inside a single enclosure on your garage wall. The thermal load per unit stays low, and no single failure takes the whole system down. One bad unit costs you one panel's output, not your entire array. That distributed failure model is why installers with real roof experience keep recommending these. Shade from a chimney, a dormer, or a neighboring tree hitting 2 panels does not drag down the rest. Panels facing different roof angles each optimize independently. For the kind of asymmetric, multi-pitch, partially shaded residential roofs that actually exist in the real world, that matters more than a clean efficiency number on a flat south-facing test array. Panel-level monitoring is the other practical advantage. When something underperforms, you see exactly which unit and exactly when it started. That shortens diagnostic time from hours to minutes and reduces service call costs significantly. The IQ8 specifically adds a meaningful capability over earlier generations. It can form a limited grid independently during a daytime outage, even without a battery attached. That is not marketing language. It reflects a genuine architecture shift that earlier microinverters did not have. Warranty depth and installer familiarity with this platform are both mature. Parts are available, replacement procedures are well documented, and your installer has almost certainly done this before. Distributed microinverters solve the thermal problem elegantly, but they are not the right answer for every roof. Clean rectangular layouts, minimal shading, and simple south-facing arrays do not need per-panel electronics. For those installations, the Fronius GN24 Plus is the string and hybrid option that actually holds up. What separates Fronius from the crowded field of bargain string inverters is thermal discipline. Cheap sealed units post impressive peak efficiency numbers, then derate aggressively once internal temperatures climb in a hot garage or sun-exposed wall mount. Fronius uses active cooling with managed airflow and an enclosure designed to move heat out rather than trap it. That means real-world output stays closer to rated output across a full summer day, not just during a mild spring morning test cycle. The service culture matters too. Fronius has maintained a genuine installer support network for years, and technicians recognize this hardware. Replacement parts exist, documentation is current, and your installer is not diagnosing the unit from scratch. That installer familiarity shortens service windows significantly when something does need attention. The honest trade-off is this: active cooling means fans are in the system, and fans are mechanical components that eventually need attention. If yours is installed somewhere with heavy dust or poor airflow clearance, that is not a theoretical concern. Respect the clearance requirements, and this unit earns its reputation. Ignore them, and you will recreate the exact failure pattern you were trying to avoid. For straightforward roofs where string architecture makes sense, this is legitimate engineering rather than spec sheet theater. String architecture fits clean, simple roofs, but once you add batteries, a generator, a critical loads panel, and grid outages you actually need to ride through, a string inverter becomes the wrong tool. That is exactly where SolArc earns its spot on this list. The SolArc 1.5K2P and 1.K2P are built around one premise. The inverter is the control center, not just a grid tie converter. Solar input, battery charging and discharging, grid connection, generator integration, and critical load switching all run through a single platform with documented behavior at each operating stage. That integration matters because the failure points in backup systems almost always live in the handoffs between components, not inside any one device. On durability, these units carry solid fault protection, published derating curves, and certifications that actually satisfy utility interconnection requirements on the models where it counts. Battery compatibility is broad, not locked to a proprietary ecosystem, which means your storage options do not shrink the moment SolArc discontinues a partnership. Now the honest part. A strong spec sheet does not override physics. Burying one of these in a cramped, unventilated utility closet will compress its lifespan just like any other inverter. Airflow and load planning are still your responsibility. The real contrast here is with cheaper all-in-one hybrids that advertise enormous surge numbers but deliver thin documentation, limited parts availability, and support that disappears when you need a technician at 7 in the morning during a grid outage. SolArc's installer base is real, and that matters when something goes wrong. SolArc handles the grid-tied plus battery world well. Victron handles everything else. The Multi Plus 2 and Quattro are the inverters people reach for when the installation is a boat, a van, an off-grid cabin, or a modular battery system that nobody makes a tidy prepackaged solution for. The reason is ecosystem depth. Victron publishes full communication protocols, maintains a wide accessory network including battery monitors, color control displays, and smart shunts, and writes documentation that actually explains what the hardware does at each operating state. That combination lets a competent installer or serious DIY builder design a system with predictable behavior rather than guessing at firmware decisions made in a locked black box. The engineering approach is conservative by design. Charging algorithms are well characterized, thermal management is taken seriously, and the units have accumulated real-world hours across some of the harshest mobile and remote environments on the market. That is not marketing language. That is why these units appear consistently in professional marine and RV installations, where a failure means days from a service center. The trade-off is real, though. Victron rewards competent design and punishes lazy installation just as hard as anything else on this list. Undersized DC wiring, poor ventilation, or sloppy VE configure programming will still produce failures. The hardware does not compensate for a bad system design. What Victron replaces is the category of cheap high-surge mobile inverters that advertise peak wattage numbers built on burst ratings measured in milliseconds, backed by vague certifications and support that evaporates after the sale. For any serious off-grid or mobile build, that is not a credible alternative. So here is the filter. Complex roof, shade issues, Panel level monitoring you actually need. N-phase. Clean unshaded string system where you want proven thermal reliability and a manufacturer who answers the phone. Fronius. Grid tied with whole home battery backup and serious load management. Solarc. Off-grid, mobile, marine or any modular build where you need to design the system yourself. Victron. The rule underneath all four is the same one this video started with. Buy the heat path, the support network, the derating behavior, and the service future. Do not buy the biggest wattage number on the spec sheet. Before you spend money on hardware or book an installer, map your actual use case against those four fits. If your system does not match any of them cleanly, that is useful information before the purchase, not after. If this helped you think more clearly about that decision, subscribe so you catch the next one. Drop your planned system in the comments. Roof type, battery situation, grid or off-grid. And the community here will tell you where the obvious problems are. Thanks for watching.